I have a couple questions for you, Dave. First of all, you put Tyreek back to field a punt last week's game. Did that have anything to do with that kind of fair catch that Mcmullen made on the previous punt return? And Brad, I'll have a second question after he's done.
Okay. No, it really didn't, Adam. It had nothing to do with it. It was just a different play that we had called,
Okay.
and Tyreek's part of that play. We have a number of plays where Tyreek's involved, and that just happened to be – it was just a timing thing, and I thought that might be misconstrued.
Okay, fair enough. And also, Jack Fox showed a pretty good leg when he was in camp last year. Are you at all, but given that, are you at all surprised by what he's doing so far this year?
Really, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I always told him, I said, you will be in the NFL. It's just that he just needed a little bit more time, a little bit more consistency. He was real close, when he was here with us. He was real close. And it's not surprising me at all that, the season that he's having, and really proud of him. I texted him the other day and told him how proud I was of him.
Let's go next to Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Dave, just wanted to ask you about your kicker. I know he's diligent, and I'm just wondering if there's something he sees or something you see of, common denominator, the extra point the other night and what happened the week before.
Yeah, I mean – it's, it happened 2 games in a row now. So now you got to look at it and you say, what's the problem? And it was the same miss. It's he's kind of towing the ball, catching it with his toe. We kind of figured out exactly what it is. We worked on it yesterday. We hit nothing but extra points yesterday, and he was 100%. And we feel like we know where the miss is, where it's happening, and we just have to eliminate that miss. He's, like I said, he's – it bothers him more than anybody, believe me. I mean, he is so, he's such a perfectionist that something like that just drives him nuts. And, so you don't have to say much. You just go back and you look at it and you practice and you try to correct it the next day at practice. And we feel like we did that yesterday.
Go next to Seren Petro. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, you really kind of covered it, but I just want to make clear just specifically the hold. The holds have been fine. And then just, is there any – I mean, for lack of, you have a favorite golf club, you might get a club that's the same thing, but it just doesn't quite feel right. Is there any of that that's still kind of breaking in with the holes?
No, it has nothing to do with the holes. The holes are perfect. I mean, Tommy is doing a great job with the holes, and I'm sure Bucker would be the first one to tell you that. And I'm really happy with the way that's going. But I just think it's just a matter of, it's a close kick. He's just catching it the wrong way. Every once in a while it comes up, and we just got to get rid of that miss, and the good thing is it's the same miss. It's not like he's missing left, missing right. And that's when you have a 2-way miss, that's a lot worse than a 1-way miss. So we can make the correction.
Go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Coach, you kind of mentioned Tommy Townsend, but just how impressed have you been with him considering the amount of pressure that might go into replacing somebody like Dustin Colquitt early on here?
Yeah, I think early on, he a little nervous, obviously in his first couple games. We didn't have any preseason games. It was tough for him. But he is every game, every practice, in fact, he's getting better and better and better. And he's showing more and more consistency. And you got a little taste of how strong his leg is the other night. I mean, he can really bomb the ball. One thing we got to continue to work on control. He can bomb the ball, but he has to know when to bomb it like he is, or when to hit it higher, possibly kick it over their head and then keep the ball in play so it doesn't end up in a touchback. I mean, there's a lot more room for improvement, but you're seeing how much power the kid really has. And, he's the sky's the limit for him. I think he's going to be a great punter in the league.
Got 2 more. Let's go Sam and then Karen. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Dave. With Willie Gay, he's playing more and more on defense. Just, I guess, if you can't do this with him specifically, just generally speaking, how do those conversations go when a guy starts to play more on his unit, and how much do you think you'll be able to still utilize him?
I go to the how many plays guys are getting. I look at the play chart. It's how many plays each guy gets. Once they start getting over 50, 60 plays on offense or defense, then you got to start pulling them back a little bit. I think Willie, if I'm not mistaken, he might have had, 25 plays or so on defense. So really, we don't need to pull him back yet on special teams, because he's probably going to get about another 10 or 15 plays there for me. That ends up hitting the number. But once a guy gets above those numbers, then you got to start thinking about pulling them back a little bit on special teams and then making the adjustment that way.
Go last to Karen. Go ahead, Karen.
Coach, just want to ask you a little bit about McCall. Do you see a maturing process that has to take place with a young player? Has a lot of speed, can catch the ball, but sometimes still learning those decisions on what he can and can't do?
Yes, he's still. I mean, we can't forget that he's only a second-year player, and he doesn't have that many touches actually. When you really look at it as a punt returner, a lot of times they kick the ball out of bounds. It just doesn't work out. So he made a couple mistakes in the last game. Let's face it, everybody saw it. But he will make the corrections. We worked hard yesterday in particular on some things with the fair catch decision and getting away from it when he wants. He tries to do a little bit too much when he doesn't get a lot of balls in his hands, and he's just got to learn. That position is a real tough position. You got to make quick decisions. I think it's, besides quarterback, I think it's the second toughest position to play in all of football. So he's getting better and better. He's a young, talented kid that takes pride in it, and he will continue to improve.
Short week again. Happy with what the guys did on Monday, and now we just kind of turn our attention to the Raiders. So with that, I'll just open it up.
Let's go first to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, two quick questions here for you. Rashad Breeland returning from a 4-game suspension. How concerned are you with rust, given the time off? And then specific to the Raiders, what makes running back Josh Jacobs a dangerous opponent to face?
Yeah, listen, I'll get to that one in a second. With Breezy, we'll just see how the week goes. We first time we'll be out there really getting after it today. So we'll kind of feel our way through that, how we'll use it and what we'll do when we get to Sunday. With the running back, listen, this is a dynamic, violent runner. I think he puts his head down and gets a lot of extra yards. He's a kind of a stocky, thick guy. I'm really impressed with him. I know they are because they feed it to him. The thing that impresses me the most is not only can he get to the edge with the speed, but he's one of those guys that just sticks his foot in the ground and can make that cut and get north-south. Our backside guys have to be on point to control this run game.
Let's go next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Steve. Wanted to ask you about Rashad. You've been through it before where guys come back in the middle of the year. I just wonder, is there some level of comfort given the play you have gotten from your quarterback so far that you don't necessarily feel like you have to force Rashad to play all of the defensive snaps on Sunday?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to think about that. I mean, look, Rashad was a starter for us, and we know what he can do. And it's game 5, and going down the stretch here, we're going to need everybody. So you kind of want to get guys oiled up. So we'll tread lightly, see how we figure the whole thing out. But we got a lot of confidence in him and the confidence in the guys that were in there playing. And hopefully it can stay that way. I mean, in this league, the one thing we all know is, we're all going to have injuries, right? So you got to overcome injuries. But when you get them all at one position, that's tough. I mean, last year we had Mo Claiborne, I believe, went through the same thing. I think it was 4 games. And then we kind of slowly eased him in as well and got some valuable snaps out of him.
Go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Steve. Wanted to ask you about Willie Gay. We've seen his snap count improve or increase as the season's progressed. So what are you seeing from him in practice that makes you want to get him on the field more? And what still improvements are there to be made?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Matt House and Britt Reed keep me abreast of the development of Willie. I've said this before. We try to play as many guys on defense in the course of the game as we can. I think it keeps everybody involved in the game plan. And so that's just another step. Willie steps in there. Ben gets a lot of his reps in our sub packages. And I think he's helped us inside in the base stuff. We'll see where the count number goes based on the packages we put out there. It's hard to tell based on what the Raiders put out there. What was the second part of your question?
Hold on one sec, Coach. I got him muted here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was a follow-up question.
There you go, Sam. Give it a shot, Sam.
Just where you still think he needs to improve. Obviously, it was a guy that didn't get to have preseason, so
Yeah.
I recognize that he still needs to learn some things.
Yeah. I mean, for any rookie challenge, listen, the chin to the hairline, mental reps are the most important thing, and that just comes with getting out there and playing. And you're right, we missed that with not having preseason games and the same normal kind of training camp. But we'll get him. He gets better every week. That's the important thing.
Let's go next to Matt McMullen. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach. So your defense was so good down the stretch last season. I know in camp the the hope was that they could begin week one playing that well right out of the gate, carry that momentum in. Well, we're a quarter of the way through the season now, and you're the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL. So what's impressed you about your group so far this year?
Well, they're resilient. We've been in some of the games where we've kind of struggled, and yet they've hung in there. Even in this past game, I mean, it was, I don't know, 6-3 into somewhere in the third quarter. I mean, toward the end of the third. So that's a battle. That's a slugfest. And when you get in those games as a team, your defense has to keep you in there, not let it get out of hand. I thought our guys did that. Hopefully we can build on that. I'd still like the tackling to be better. I'd still like the run defense to be better. There's a lot of places we can improve on, and we talk about it all the time. Hopefully this week we can make some gains in those particular areas.
Go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Steve. Wanted to ask you about Derek Carr. You coached against him, obviously, a couple times last year and probably previous in your career. Well, what stands out to you about Derek Carr? What are the things maybe you as a coordinator need to know when you're playing against the Derek Carr team?
Yeah, real efficient, real intelligent. Again, I'll go back to it looks to me like him and John are really in sync. Derek Carr is an extension of what John Gruden wants to do offensively, and they do it real well. They've been together now for a little bit, right? Second year. And he has total command. I'm talking about Derek now, out on the field, total command of putting his offensive guys in the right play. He's not going to put them in a bad play. He's got a lot of mechanisms to find out what you're doing. We're going to try to not let him read our mail, so to speak. That's easier said than done because of the way they operate with the tempos and the hard counts and et cetera, et cetera. But it'll be the game within the game. I got a lot of respect for him, so hopefully we'll be able to combat it.
Go next to Breland Moore. Go ahead, Breland.
Hey, good morning. I just kind of want to know, this has been a crazy couple of days for you guys, right? The Sunday game moved to Monday. Now we're hearing reports that the Bills game on Thursday could be moved to Saturday. So for a group that is so routine oriented, how do you stay in that routine and how do you kind of stay focused when there's so many moving parts outside of this that you don't have control over?
You know what, Breland, I'm smiling because there's been nothing routine about this year. I mean, the defensive coaches and I were talking about, we have not had a normal Sunday to Sunday, game week. Really haven't had one, not even going back to training camp, and there's been Thursday night games and then just exactly what you said. So I'm not sure what normal is. I mean, you could say normal from last year. So I guess maybe we're kind of getting used to it. We're in the chaos, be calm and poised in the chaotic circumstances we're in and just be ready to roll. You got to just stay flexible, right?
Let's go next to Robert Rimson. Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Coach. So it seems like you guys are getting your hands on the ball a lot more this season. Is it a thing that just more opportunities have been presented to you guys, or what are you doing specifically that's getting you more turnovers?
Well, I would credit the coaches in putting the players in a position to do that, and then our players actually following through. I mean, look, it's early. We've only played 4 games. I mean, the last 2 games we played pretty good. We got a long way to go here, a long stretch. Sometimes those things come in bunches. All of a sudden you get a bunch of them, then you go dry for a little bit. I mean, I hope we don't hit any dry spells, but I'm encouraged by what they're doing, recently, and hopefully that can, we can keep maintaining that going forward.
We've got time for a couple more. We'll go Pete and then Sarin. Go ahead, Pete.
Good afternoon, Coach. This is related to Breland and probably files under like a good problem to have, but Rashad Fenton, who was the inside guy last year, looks really good, and especially last game on the outside. Where do you evaluate him now that Breland's returning? Would there be a chance that he stays outside?
Yeah, I mean, I think he should certainly get reps out there. We'll see. There's a lot of moving parts even during the week with guys with injuries and getting reps. We only get so many reps this time of year. We're not practicing as much. We do more walkthroughs than anything else. So, the challenge is to get Breland up to speed, to make sure that Rashad still gets some corner work because he deserves it with the way he played. Keep C-Dub in there, and, whether it's Hamilton, whoever the 4th guy is. When it's all said and done, when you go through the season, you're going to need a bunch of corners. So hopefully we can get them all some time and, stay flexible either way.
We'll go last to Sarin. Go ahead, Sarin.
Coach, to follow up on the question that Breland Moore, the reporter, not Rashad Breland, had about the the game's moving around. What do you guys do when you get an extra day that you weren't planning for? I know Coach Reed and you have been through every Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night, Saturday scenario, and you've got a calendar for it. But that calendar is usually set. It doesn't get pulled out from under you. So do you go and start prepping for the Raiders on your downtime and get ahead on that for the day you're losing on the other side? What do you do with that extra day?
Yeah, interesting question. I'd be honest with you. What happened this past week, I think that's never happened to me in my career here, because you're playing your week to play a game on a certain day. All of a sudden you don't play that day and you have an open day, really. You can almost sit there and go, what do I do with this? I can tell you this, that our assistant coaches on defense started working on the Raiders because we had to. It's hard for me to do that because then things run together and you play a game and I'm yelling out numbers and it's the Raiders and we're playing the Patriots. You don't want that. So we adjusted pretty good, kind of like what we would have done in a normal Monday night game. But I'll tell you one thing I did. I took advantage of whatever it was Saturday when it was delayed and we didn't know we were going to play. I got a lot of rest is what I did. I needed to catch up on rest coming off the Monday night game. So that was good.
Good. All right, to start this off, I just wanted to say, first of all, as an offense, I don't believe that we played our best ball this past weekend. Our guys know that. They feel that. One thing that I will say, I'm proud of the fact that our guys are learning how to find ways to win. They're learning to strain the finish when things are not perfect. One thing I'm not going to do, there's no excuses for the lack of performance. Our coaching staff have addressed all of the issues. We'll continue to address it. We're going to continue to coach our guys up, and our guys are energized and they're ready to come out and redeem themselves. But we understand that we got to focus on the details moving forward. So with that in mind, let's keep it. I'm all ears here.
Let's go first to Todd Lebo. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Coach, I wonder, when you get in a game like that where everything's not going exactly like you want, you found yourself maybe having to dig a little deeper in the playbook when you guys got down to the red zone. How do you kind of get the feel for the game when you need to go for some of those kind of plays instead of the regular stuff?
Well, what you do, you just go back to the things that you guys can just dial up and just go and line up and play. They can line up and execute a play that we may haven't practiced or ran in a while, but those guys know it inside out. And then at the end of the day, we just got to make sure that we're playing assignment sound ball, regardless of what we call. And for whatever reason, we just wasn't at our best. But I will say this, and I'm going to say it again. I'm proud of the fact that we're learning how to strain the finish when things are not perfect.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Eric. I got a couple of questions for you today. The first one being, Andy made the comment after the game Monday night that there was a lot you guys can learn from that tape. Do you agree with him? And even in general terms, what did you guys learn from that particular tape? And Brad, I'll have one quick follow-up when we're done.
Okay, well, first of all, there is a lot to learn. One thing that you can learn, first of all, as an offense, we got to learn to be more patient, okay? We have to be willing to drive the length of the field. We got to take exactly what is there. On top of that, we just got to make sure that we're doing all the little things that are necessary to help us to be productive. There's an offensive lineman taking the correct footwork, a back taking the correct footwork, and aiming run game. Pat being disciplined with his eyes and seeing reads downfield, okay? Receivers making sure they're getting the proper depth. So there's a lot of little things that we can learn from what took place this weekend. And the thing about it, our guys are smart enough and they're sharp enough. They're sound football players, and they understand that, it wasn't good enough. So everybody's taking a look at within. Now our coaching staff, we're addressing it and making sure that those details are much better this week.
Okay, and the other thing was, you remember after the Houston game, we asked you about your troubles running the ball in the goal-to-go situations near the goal line. Mm-hmm. Now, it's been only a couple times since, but it doesn't appear that things have gotten a lot better in that regard. I mean, is that you still have a lot of work to do, do you feel like, in that area with Clyde, or are you guys making progress even though the results haven't been there?
We're always working to get better. Yes, we still need to continue to be the very best that we can. At the end of the day, it's our job to make sure that we're putting our guys in the right position. But on top of that, it's making sure that our guys understand exactly what we want. But when it's all said and done with, in that particular that moment of truth time, it's about our attitude and our determined mindset to make it happen. So we just got to keep finding ways to strain, to finish, to make sure that we're doing everything under the sun to make it right.
Let's go next to Seren Petro. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, I'm just curious. I asked this of Steve Spagnuolo and what he did. You know, you guys have a schedule for everything, right? I know you've been through a Saturday game, a Sunday game, a Thursday game, but you don't usually have it, you know, change on you last minute. So you got an extra day. What do you do with that extra day? Do you dig in on the Raiders? Do you look ahead to Buffalo because that's a short week? What do you do with that extra day when you get it, you know, out of the blue?
So right now, I'll let you in on a little secret here. First of all, I've been a part of a few of those games with the Minnesota Vikings. I think we had a home game in Detroit one year, I think on a Tuesday or a Friday. We played at the University of Minnesota. So one thing you learn in this profession is to always remain flexible, okay? Especially with everything that we're dealing with. And with what happened this particular week, no, I'm not a guy that's going to look ahead, because one thing I want to do, I always want to focus on the task. Our staff will start ahead. I just want to make sure that I got all these particular plays and situations in my head so I don't cloud that particular vision. But I got to let you in a little secret. I took a nap, and it felt damn good. So we played on Monday night. Hey, a national crowd. We got to play and put on a performance. I know everybody wasn't happy with the performance, but a win is a win. But the next thing, hey, we lose a day, it's okay. We grind. This is what we do. We get back to it, you know, and it's all about the Raiders right now. Oh, and one more thing too. It's all about the Raiders, and we're 1 week from kickoff against Buffalo. So
let's go next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Eric, I wanted to ask you about the tight end position behind Travis. You've had 4 games to assess Nick Keiser so far. Deion Yelder got some snaps last week. We haven't seen Ricky Seals-Jones in the offense. Where would you evaluate that position right now, 4 weeks into the season?
You know what? I think we're solid at our depth. I mean, Nick has done a heck of a job of playing. Deion Yelder set himself back in camp. He has some things that he was dealing with, but we got some pretty good young players. We're satisfied with the guys that we have. Now, each and every one of them, and even our position coach would tell you, including Kels, they all can play a little bit better. We all got to continue to keep focusing on all the little details to help us to do certain things to maximize us to be the best that we can be. But at the end of the day, we're satisfied with the guys. And on top of that, those guys are doing a hell of a job of working their tails off and then stepping up and doing some good things in the game as well.
Let's go next to Steve Walls. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, AB, how you doing?
Doing good.
Hey, I'm good. You mentioned the guys have been resilient in fighting back, and you had a couple games like that, even looking back at last season. And I mean, you guys can score in bunches, but how do you make sure these guys don't get complacent with coming back to win a game?
There's right foot and there's left foot. So you missed that, huh?
No, I got
you. Here's how you do it. You make sure, okay, because we've been around these guys for a long time. At the end of the day, we just want to make sure that our guys see exactly what we're seeing, okay? And on top of that, we have a bunch of professional players that understands exactly what it takes to be at their best. And so these guys know when they're not playing very well. And one thing our guys understand is they have to be humble, all right? So humility with dignity, all right? Being humble enough, all right? But also understanding that, hey, I have to be dignified to whereas I have to accept this criticism to make sure that I'm doing it the right way. So we got a great coaching staff that's going to address all the little things that need to be addressed. Okay, we're going to focus on the details. It's all about being fundamentally sound. And then when it's all said and done with, like I always tell the guys, regardless of what you're being coached to do, it requires no God-given ability to play with second effort. So our guys are going to go out there and maximize the effort. This is why we've had those great games, because it hasn't always been perfect, but the effort has been there for us to find a way to win.
Got time for 2 more. Let's go Pete and then Sam. Go ahead, Pete.
I was wondering, what have you learned over the course of now 3 years under Andy Reid when it comes to both play design and game planning? And then furthermore, if you were trying to think about like what your players would describe you as, what do you think that they would say after playing for you?
Well, that last question is a trick question. I'm not going to answer that one. But I've learned a lot coaching under Coach Reid, and it just doesn't all have to do with football. You know, there's things that how you handle yourself as a man in this world, as an employee, how you treat people. All right. On top of that, you know, obviously working with him and hand in hand, just some of the things that I can't reveal all of the secrets, but, you know, just understanding what you're good at and one of the things that you want to go out and attack when game planning. And so it's about making sure that you're utilizing all your personnel the correct way and giving those guys to go out there and be their best. And on top of that, allowing their personalities to show. So one thing that you learn is it's all about dealing with people and having great people skills to maximize who they are so they can be the very best that they can be.
Let's go last to Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Eric, this might sound a little bit off the wall, but in the game the other night, you had everything but bubble wrap. You had like 2 masks, goggles, face shield, and all that. Was that a response to the positive test you guys had or something else? I'm just curious what went into that.
For more than anything, I just wanted to try the shield. And I had the mask on, and I know my mother was happy, and my wife was happy as well. So, but no particular reason, just making sure that I'm doing my due diligence. That's all.
You know, from practices to games to meetings. So, you know, hopefully the way I'm planning for it to go for myself, you know, just personal goals is every week, you know, just continue to build and get better and just see more time as the season goes on, you know. So those first 3 games was just time for me to just learn more and, you know, and once again, each and every week, just try to improve.
Go next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
You know, Willie, coming out of the draft, everybody praised you for your exceptional skills covering, you know, tight ends and running backs. But against the Patriots, you were used primarily as, you know, part of the run defense on first and second down. Just what did you think you showed on tape about your ability to help in that regard versus obviously playing against the pass?
Well, my role right now, man, is to just, you know, play against like big personnel groupings and wherever coach wants me other than that, you know. And so with the Patriots game, it was a perfect scheme to just be in the box, playing the run a lot because they wanted to run the ball a lot, obviously. So, I mean, and each and every week it might change a little bit. So we'll just see what happens going into the next week and weeks after that. So
let's go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Willie, just to kind of build off of that, what is it you're working on as far as whether it's mentally or just trying to grasp your role to try and get on the field for those pass coverage downs because you were so good at those in college?
Well, you know, man, sometimes you just got to wait your turn. You know, I'm coming onto a team where, I mean, it's loaded, it's stacked. You know, guys already in positions that's been here a while. So, you know, you got people playing positions that been here 6-7 years. So I'm a rookie. I'm just waiting my turn, man. And, you know, hopefully one day I can get that opportunity. I know I will, but just playing my role for right now. So.
Go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Willie, the answer might be no here, considering on what you just said, but are there specific things that Matt House has sort of pointed to you on film, self-scouting, that maybe you can improve as you go along in the limited snaps you do get?
Oh, yeah, man. Even if I get one snap, you know, it's always something I could fix, you know, to make myself better and to only help the team. So, you know, it could be just something so simple as my stance, you know, so yeah. Just small things like that.
Go next to Sarin Petro. Go ahead, Sarin.
And Brad, I'll have a quick follow-up if you could leave me available. You're talking about all the different things you're working on. Do you feel like it's kind of building blocks, like it's a foundation, and then, you know, it's getting the whole scheme down, and so you perfect one aspect of it, and then you move on to the next one? Is that kind of how it feels like they're bringing you along?
Oh, yes, sir, definitely. You know, you can't pick it all up at once, so I mean, if you can, you superhuman or something, but I know I can't. So, man, like I was saying, every week is something new. I'm learning the plays more. I'm learning my assignment more. I'm learning why I have to do this. I'm learning what they do on the offensive side of the ball that'll help me play faster, you know, and just getting mentally just smarter with the game, you know, and just trying to build each and every week with that. So.
And kind of as a follow-up to that, you kind of touched on something Rashad Fenton said yesterday. You know, he's in year 2, and he talked about how he felt like, looking back on it now, maybe it's all moving too fast and you'll have this view next year, but you don't see it necessarily right now. He said, you know, last year I spent all week figuring out what I'm supposed to do, and I didn't really have the time to dig into what they're trying to do to me. And he said, now that I know what I'm doing, I can get more into what it is my opponents are trying to do. Have you had any conversations like that with him? Do you feel that kind of happening with you as well?
Oh yeah, it's definitely like that, man. You know, playing football, you know, it's like I just said, it's hard to pick all of it up at once. You know, you got guys in year 8 that's, you know, great at doing stuff like that, but they're in year 8 for a reason, you know. So as a rookie, you know, a second year guy, to even be on pace to that is special. So, you know, I'm just hoping it happens for me. So.
Go last to Karen Kornacki. Go ahead, Karen.
Hi, Willie. Just want to ask you, when you're looking at this offense of the Raiders, it looks like this is a team a defense can take advantage of. They fumble the ball. Carr has been fumbling the last couple of weeks, and the running back's been tackled for a loss more than anybody else in the league. When you see that there's some holes that you can take advantage of, what's kind of been the attitude or the mindset as you guys prepare for this offense?
Oh, well, definitely we know that the quarterback likes to hold the ball, so get after the quarterback, make the running back run east-west, stop his feet on contact, and just really do our job and make the plays that we're supposed to make. And like each and every week, if you do that, you'll be successful at the end of the game.